First of all, welcome to the Why Not? Today we are talking about the first assassination in history, which is the assassination of King Tutankhamun, where Tutankhamun is considered one of the pharaohs of the 18th Egyptian family in the history of ancient Egypt, and pharaoh of Egypt from 1334 BC to 1325 BC. Before completing the video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell button, and you love the video, as we grow with your support. Let's continue with the rest of the events. Tutankhamun was 9 years old when the pharaoh of Egypt, whose name was in the ancient Egyptian language means the living image of the god Amun, the head of ancient Egyptian deities. Tutankhamun lived in a transitional period in the history of ancient Egypt, where he came after Akhenaten, who tried to unite the deities of ancient Egypt in the form of one god Sunday. During his reign, he returned to the worship of the multiple ancient deities of Egypt. His grave was discovered in 1922 in the Valley of the Kings by British archaeologist Howard Carter. This discovery caused a widespread media protest in the world that Tutankhamun is one of the most famous pharaohs for reasons not related to his accomplishments or the wars he won, as is the case with many pharaohs. Rather, it is for historical reasons of historical importance, especially the discovery of his grave and its entire treasures without any damage. The mystery surrounding the circumstances of his death, where many considered that the death of pharaoh at an early age is abnormal, especially with traces of thighs and skulls, and the marriage of his minister to his widow after death and the inauguration of pharaoh himself. All these mysterious events, and the widespread use of the legend of the curse of the pharaohs associated with the tomb of Tutankhamun that was used in films and video games made Tutankhamun the most famous pharaohs of mysteries and questions that remain unanswered, and some considered them to be among the oldest assassinations in the history of mankind. But for a long time, the cause of death was Tutankhamun, a controversial topic, and there were many conspiracy theories that suggested the idea that he did not die but was killed in an assassination. On March 8, 2005, as a result of the use of computerized three-dimensional tomography, CORT, scanning on the mummy of Tutankhamun, the Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass stated that there was no evidence of the assassination of Tutankhamun, adding that the hole in his skull was for no reason a blow to the head as previously thought, but this hole was made after death for the purpose of mummification, and Zahi explained the senses of fracture in the left femur, which has long been associated with the theory of assassination as a result of fracture of the femur that Tutankhamun suffered before his death, and the inflammation caused by this fracture caused his death. Recent analyses also showed that the bone cover of the oral cavity of Tutankhamun was not completed and that the height of Tutankhamun was 170 centimeters and the width of his skull is greater than the normal length, prompting some to suggest Marfan syndrome as a reason for its premature death, and this genetic condition are transmitted through the dominant body genes. The final report of the team of Egyptian archaeologists was that the cause of death was blood poisoning as a result of breaking of the bone of Tutankhamun, which led to gangrene, which is the death of cells and tissues and their collapse due to the secretion of enzymes from the dead muscles due to the lack of oxygen that reaches them through the blood. Prior to this report, there were attempts to find the cause of death using X-rays on Tutankhamun's mummy, which occurred at the University of Liverpool and the University of Michigan in 1968 and 1978 respectively, and the two dark universities discovered a spot beneath Tutankhamun's skull from the back that was interpreted as bleeding in the brain. He published the hypothesis that he received a blow to his head that led to brain hemorrhage and then death. In a study published in March 2010, she explained that the cause of Tutankhamun's death was due to malaria and complications of a broken leg. The study also indicated that there are some genetic diseases that are caused by a genetic defect in the family. In general, the young Tutankhamun died and was buried in his grave, Cemetery 62, in the Valley of the Kings, leaving us traces and treasures that surprised the world.